Are you looking for an exciting way to inspire the next generation? Well, don't miss the Black Creativity Career Showcase at the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry on Saturday, February 22nd from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. You can meet Black artists, engineers, and scientists right here in Chicago and discover how their innovative work is shaping the future, and take it one step further and learn how to turn your passions into a career as well. This event is free with museum entry and it's perfect for all ages. For more info, visit msichicago.org. What's up, y'all? Steppenwolf Theater's revival of Fool for Love by Sam Shepard is extended by popular demand through March 23rd. The sexy and haunting play has garnered 4 stars from the Chicago Sun-Times and the Daily Herald, which said, "Now is the time to savor the current moment of Steppenwolf returning to Shepard." Fool for Love is on stage now through March 23rd. Get tickets today at steppenwolf.org. Today on CityCast Chicago, the good folks over at Chicago Magazine recently put out their 10 best new bars, and it included a Parisian-inspired joint in West Town, a spooky horror-themed spot in Bridgeport, and a, let's just say, expensive night at the St. Regis Tower. The team pulled up on most of the list to see if these spots was really worth the hype and your coin. It's Wednesday, February 19th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. Morning, my friends. I am joined by executive producer Simone Alicea.
Hey, Jacoby.
And producer Michelle Navarro.
Hey, Jacoby.
So they put out their top 10 and we split the list up between us. Simone, we're going to start with you. Where are the spots that you pulled up on?
Yeah, so one spot that caught my eye right away was Brewery in Ravenswood. And the reason that caught my eye is because I go there every week to play Dungeons & Dragons. I was thrilled to see it on a best new bar list. Opened up in August on the corner of Ravenswood and Winona, and a lot of historic breweries in that area already. There's a history of brewing, but also lots of new breweries that have opened up, especially in the past few years. And I gotta say, I was kind of surprised to see this on a list of best new bars. Not because the bar isn't great. I love it. The vibe is so great. It's so cozy. They've got these great couches. But the reason is number one, it's a brewery that doesn't serve any liquor, so you cannot get a cocktail at this bar. But number two, they are a brewery that focuses on saisons, which are lighter, they're fruity, frankly, for a lot of beer drinkers, they're kind of an acquired taste. And so again, I love it. I think it's great. I obviously spent a lot of time there, but yeah, I often get they have a Saison Effrayant, which is kind of,
It says rye and sage.
Yeah, it's kind of herby and smoky. They have another one that's even smokier. It's called a smoked wisp, I think. They do carry other types of beer. They carry beers from other Chicago breweries. They have their own coffee stout, for example, that they just put on tap that I have been really enjoying in these cold winter days. So they do have other types of beer. They also offer shrub sodas and I think some coffee drinks for NA options. But yeah, a bit of a pleasant surprise to see on this list for sure.
Do they offer things other than Dungeons and Dragons, or are they a community space that people can come in?
They're a big community space, and they're very into building relationships with the community. I think there was I think the Ravenswood Chamber of Commerce had an event there. They've also got this backspace that you can rent, and there's also a couple of skee ball machines, and they've got tables back there. So it's a great spot. It's a good spot if you've got a big group or if you're trying to do some kind of event there.
Shout out to Mike and the whole team over at Was. Where else did you go?
So I visited a lot of spots on this list were unsurprisingly in kind of the West Town, West Loop, Bucktown kind of area. And I gotta say, off bat, I have a bias against ever going to West Town because I live in Uptown, and it's kind of hard to get to on via public transit. I don't really want to spend the money for an Uber. And if I'm driving, then obviously I'm not going to be enjoying the cocktails that I want to be enjoying.
Or the amount of the cocktails that you want to be enjoying.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Like one spot that really falls into that category that I visited was Lemon. I think it was number 8 on the list. Lemon is truly like in the West Town black hole. Like it is on the corner of Ashland and Grand. It barely has a sign. It's across the street from 2 gas stations. There's like really nothing else happening. Yeah. And there's like really nothing else happening on that corner. And even for like several hundred feet in either direction in that intersection, right? But you walk in and it's just oozing cool. It is such a cool spot. They've got a little stage in the back that I think and they've got this sort of cocktail seating in addition to a really sizable bar up front. It's very spacious. I can imagine if it could get really crowded if there's a certain type of event there. And the other thing about Lemon is, you know, these are folks who know their cocktails. Up on the right, when you come in, up on the board, they have a list of really classic cocktails, a Paloma, an Old Fashioned, a Sazerac. So it's like these are very, very old fashioned types of cocktails. Then they show you their menu and it's like, this is the stuff that the bartenders are really excited about. And it's like, all of it is interesting. It's all very spirit forward, mixing liquor with other spirits to create flavors as opposed to like juices and mixers, etc. I do think it is kind of a bar's bar, but with a vibe that is so cool it almost hurts, I would say. I think is how I described it.
I mean, just a couple of events they did this week. Monday was the Death of Tiki, where they did a day where they were celebrating the rich heritage of sugarcane. You were talking about this event a little bit.
It had just finished up right before I came into the bar. And they were talking about how they brought in a rum maker from Trinidad, and they were sort of talking about like appropriation of tiki and sort of how to do it well and how to sort of honor that heritage, which sounded super interesting. And I'm a little bummed I missed it.
Yesterday, they had Latin Jam, live music, and then tomorrow is Honky Tonk Night. And so, yeah, with the Lawrence Peters outfit. And so it moves from Latin Jam to Country Night real quick.
I love that. It was so funny because I really did not think I was going to like this place, especially when I pulled up and I saw there wasn't really anything around it. I was like, am I really going to would I justify coming back here? And the answer was absolutely. Like, I was literally texting my boyfriend being like, oh, we need to come back here. This was great.
Seriously.
And because
late night jazz, burlesque shows, live band pole show. They just put them together.
Like if you've gone to dinner somewhere and you're waiting, you want to spend the rest of your night having fun, like this seems like the spot to do it. The drink that I got the milk and honey, which is one of their specialty cocktails. Now, pricey, $18. But a lot of these spots are like that. It is a clarified milk punch with aged rye gin, limoncello, amaro, honey, and lemon. And it was not nearly as sweet as it sounds.
I was like, that sounds very sweet.
It was more floral, but yeah, really, really interesting stuff they're doing in addition to the classic cocktails.
And then what was the last place you went to?
So the last place I went to, not quite in the West Town, black hole of Chicago, but Truce in Bucktown. This was number 5 on Chicago Magazine's list. Truce is their kind of thing is they're open all day and they are open as a coffee bar. And you can order either the coffee or the drinks at any time. And then they also serve bites, small bites.
Overnight oats, smoked salmon.
Yeah, and at least in the evening menu, because they have a separate evening menu for food as well. The way the bartender described it to me was sort of like nothing you'd have to eat with a fork. Like it's all kind of dips and sort of hand food and stuff like that.
And it goes from like marinated olives, $8 all the way up to caviar for $80.
They have there is a real like kind of caviar shtick. Truce actually feels like if your favorite neighborhood bar met your most upscale cocktail bar, that's kind of what Truce feels like.
I like that.
I can imagine if I lived in Bucktown and people came to visit me, I would be taking them to Truce all the time. It's really close to the Damon Blue Line stop, in Wicker, in the heart of Wicker Park. It's funny too, because on my way there, I passed Rainbow Club, I passed Lottie's, several other sort of well-known Chicago institutions. The people behind the bar at Truce also really know their stuff. I actually liked this drink that I had a lot more. I was so impressed. I was absolutely blown away by this cocktail. I had, in case you're curious, and this was a seasonal cocktail that they had. Might want to go and get it now, but it's called the Rule of Plum, which is a Baijiu drink with ume, Rittenhouse rye, 5-spice, and various kinds of plum syrup, like a really dark plum, rich plum flavor. It was like a whole meal. Like, it was so delicious. It was spicy. It was sweet. And Baijiu, if you don't know, Baijiu is a big flavor. It's hard to make. It's not super easy to drink often. And so to put it in a cocktail that is sort of this complex with this many layers of flavor, just beautiful. Love it. Baijiu also known for being quite strong. And so, yeah, also pretty pricey. I think I got a drink and I got a cosmic brownie. They have almost like the kind you get from the little package
from the
at
corner
the store,
or the little gas station.
But they have their own. And I think, with tip, my tab was something like almost $30, right? So it was still pretty expensive, but man, that cocktail, I did not want it to end. It was so good.
Now is the time to get your tickets to Timeline Theater Company's Chicago premiere of Debate, Baldwin vs. Buckley. Following critically acclaimed runs in both New York and London, this is a site-specific immersive show imagining the historic debate between author and civil rights leader James Baldwin and William F. Buckley Jr. right around the event's 60th anniversary, no less. Presented in partnership with the American Vicarious and the Theater School at DePaul University, Debate, Baldwin vs. Buckley depicts a clash that reveals the haunting legacy of racism in America. Giving it 3.5 stars, the Tribune calls it startlingly current, both of its moment and timeless. Debate, Baldwin vs. Buckley is running now through March 2nd at the Cordell U Commons on DePaul's Lincoln Park campus. Visit timelinetheater.com for more info and tickets.
What sort of promises have you made to yourself this year? Maybe get in better shape or eat healthier, save more money, travel somewhere new. What about discovering a new culture by learning a new language? With Babbel, you can do that in just a few weeks. I'm CityCast CEO David Plotz, and I'm having such a good time learning Spanish on Babbel this year. I'm taking a trip to Mexico City in the spring, and Babbel is giving me the Spanish foundation that's going to make my trip so much better. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons, handcrafted by more than 200 language experts, get you to begin speaking your new language in 3 weeks or at whatever pace you choose. And because conversing is the key to really understanding each other in a new language, Babbel is designed using practical, real-world conversations. And one way they do that is with their own podcasts. I'm a podcast listener. I'm guessing since you're listening to this podcast, you are too. And I have been getting ready for my Mexico City trip by listening to Babbel's conversational podcasts. There's a short conversation you listen to, then an instructor talks you through what happened, and then you listen again, and then you catch everything when you listen that second time. There's also a great read-along transcript, too, which I love. The one I did today was with Maria and Carmela trying to make dinner plans, but Carmela is so busy. She's way too busy with work and yoga, but finally they agreed on brunch on Saturday. Studies from Yale, Michigan State, and other universities continue to prove that Babbel works. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. So let's get more of you talking in a new language. Babbel is gifting CityCast listeners 60% off subscriptions at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/CityCast. Spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Michelle, jump in here, my friend. What are a couple of the places you visited?
Yeah, so first off, this actually became technically like my new local bar. It's in Bridgeport. It's called Electric Funeral. It opened last April and it's right off Halsted and 35th. And it's also right across the street from Mermova Theater. And it comes from the owners of Jackalope Coffee and Tea House, which is just down the block. I really love that spot. And so to describe Electric Funeral, I would say it takes like the Chicago classic dive bar kind of feel, but you add this like spooky horror aesthetic to it. They have like this hard rock sound when you walk in. Like I feel like they're constantly just playing rock. I think we all know people who would really love it there. And it's like dark, but not dingy. They have really cool events. So like I saw that they do karaoke. They had like horror trivia. It's very decorated. Like it's decked out with like posters and like creepy dolls, but they also had like old concert posters.
Oh, so you mean like when you say spooky, you mean like it's like Halloween themed, not that it's just like dark and kind of metal themed.
Chicago Mag described it in this cool way where they were like, this is perfect for people who start counting down for Halloween starting November 1st. And so I'm not a huge horror fan, but I do love horror aesthetic. And like,
see, all of this makes me want to go even more.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I'm
you should.
so excited.
No, this is right up your alley.
This is so
You've
up my
been grinning
alley.
since you started talking.
and what I really like about it too is like, even though it's playing off this like horror spooky vibe, the drinks, like in terms of their cocktails, they're very tropical and citrusy, which is my favorite type. They kind of took the idea of just like having these like fun skull shaped mugs and cups. And I love the contradiction of the drinks with the spot. It's something that you wouldn't feel like something you'd be drinking in vacation, but really you're like in the back of a Spencer's.
Block Club said it's a dive bar meets a funeral home. They really lean into this thing. I'm looking at some of the skull-shaped cups. Like everybody is getting into the vibe.
Yeah, so some of their drinks that caught my attention, one of them was the Resurrection Mary. I remember like I first learned about Resurrection Mary when we did that episode on like ghost stories in Chicago. And so that is a habanero spiked Bloody Mary dished with a 4-ounce sidecar of beer in a skull mug. And then they also have my Cold Dead Heart, which I really want to try this one. I'm not a big fan of like coffee mixed drinks, but because it mixes Jackalope's cold brew with a caramel vodka, I love Jackalope coffee. So I thought their drinks looked super fun. And yeah, just like the energy in there was really cool, really funky for Bridgeport, but it just feels right at home in Bridgeport. This spot opened last April. And so I think it's already from like I'm neighborhood next over, but from what it sounds like, this is already kind of becoming or has become a neighborhood staple.
I want to give a huge shout out to the team over at Chicago Magazine, especially Amy Kavanaugh and Carl Clockers, who wrote up a lot of these reviews. But just from the few places y'all have named so far, the variety in our list, from horror theme to some more elevated bars, is really cool to see. Michelle, where's the other place you stopped by?
The other spot I went to is Cara Cara Club, and it is in the heart of Logan Square. It's literally right across the street from Logan Square Park, right off Logan Boulevard and Kedzie Boulevard. It comes from the owners of Nine Bar in Chinatown and the owners of Ludlow Liquors. It's this beautiful, intimate, cozy space. I went at night, but I could only imagine that during the day because the space is lined with windows. I'm sure it's very bright and breezy, but at night it becomes super like kind of dark, cozy, intimate. They have this beautiful large bar that when you walk in, it's kind of the first thing you see. And then all the way to their left, they have kind of this larger kind of space where there's like these like benched seatings around this like room. And I went when there was a DJ there, DJ Nanus, who I really love. And so it was popping that night. That kind of that corner space acted like a dance floor, which was really fun. But I've also seen on their Instagram that they sometimes have live music, and so they use that space for the bands or for the musicians to perform in. And yeah, I thought it was a beautiful space. It's very Italian coastal vibes. Some of their drinks, I that night I had one of their specials, which was like a paloma. Their paloma was delicious. Their cocktails are, I would say, pretty like what you would consider the price of cocktails, like around $15. They do mix and match highballs, which are $10 each after 10 p.m., which you take like a base spirit and you pick your choice of mixer. Again, I didn't have anything to eat there, but they have plenty of snacks to share, from like jamon iberico to like hummus, just like different kind of snacks that you can have. And so I'm really looking forward to going more so during kind of like an evening with friends, kind of like maybe like a pre or post dinner kind of vibe. And so seeing DJ Nanu, seeing kind of the selection of music and live music they have there, I'm really looking forward to kind of following up with them, catching maybe like live music there. I think it's really beautiful. And like I said, the space is gorgeous. I could definitely see this being one of my like favorite go-to spots when I go out with friends and when I'm in the area.
Hey, it was ranked number 2 on the list for a reason. When you go to their website, you're immediately greeted by like this, what feels like this home movie from a few decades ago off like an Italian coast. So I can only imagine how these vibes translate to in person. And like you said earlier, being from the team that made 9 Bar, which was, I think, the number 1 new bar on Chicago Magazine's list last year and has been ranked on so many lists across the country. And so, the team got some clout already. So I'm excited to go to Car Club.
Jacoby, where did you get to visit?
Hey, again, I want to give a shout out to the list. It made my Valentine's Day weekend all the more eventful. And I started things off on Saturday by making an afternoon in Pilsen centered around Monochrome Brewing on 21st and Carpenter. Before I got there, though, I stopped by Pilsen Community Books. I then went over to Monochrome Brewing, where they pretty much primarily sell beer, which, as I've said on the podcast, isn't my go-to drink selection. But I will say the options that I got there were very flavorful. The guy behind the bar was really nice, very knowledgeable, really excited about the beers that were on his list. So I grabbed the Pineapple Swirl, which was described as a pineapple milkshake IPA. And gee, it was so good. He handed us a sample of it and we immediately knew we wanted it. And it's probably the best beer I've tasted in years, if I'm being honest with you. And he also let us try the Project Nova, which was a barrel-aged imperial stout with, get this, coconut Nutella. It was silky, it was creamy, had that like chocolatey note to it as well. And so again, what they were making in-house was really good. It's BYOF. You could bring your own food. They're cool with you ordering food. When we got there, it looked like a couple. They had their baby with them and then a friend. They were drinking on a couple of beers and had maybe some tacos that were ordered in. It's probably like a 10, 15-minute walk from 18th and Blue Island. So not too far from like Talia Hall, Quesabria, Jalisco. We went to Pilsen Yards for food right before we went. And so whether you order food or you bring food in, it felt like a place that you could go, wouldn't be too crowded. Like they didn't have any TVs. They had like a dartboard and some couches near the back. And so, we had grabbed some books. I was sat there and read a little bit. They said they have a running club that throughout the seasons uses there as like a starting and ending point as well. And so that was really cool. They said in the summer, it gets up to maybe like 120 people. And it was the Venados Running Club. They meet every Wednesday at 7:00 for weekly community runs out of Monochrome Brewing. The club was founded all the way back in 1981 in the Pilsen neighborhood and has been going strong for over 40 years. And so it's a big part of the community. And Monochrome Brewing, even though they just opened in the last year, has become their latest community hub.
That's cool. What was the next spot you checked out?
All right. So then on Sunday, I went over to Biso on Fulton and Sangamon. And the Chicago Magazine write-up had described it as really inspired by Paris in the 60s. And so I kind of had a solid expectation of what it looked like going in. But when I went in, it was packed on a Sunday at, I want to say we went in there at 3:30. They opened at 3 on Sunday, and we got the last 2 seats at the bar. All of the booths were filled up. Everybody seemed to be there in groups. All the people at the bar were in couples, but in all of the tables, there were at least 3 or 4 people there. And Biso was ranked as the #1 bar in Chicago Magazine's list.
I love that spot. I've been a couple times myself. The last time I was there was also random day. It was like a Wednesday evening and it was packed. We also were like stuffed at the bar, but it's beautiful inside.
Our bartender was so energetic, came up to us immediately. How's it going, cuties? They have like kisses and lips on like their napkins and on their menu.
On their coasters.
The drinks had like really fun names. The ones that we ordered were the Pink Squirrel, which had almond and cocoa blended with their house rum cream and an orange dust. Kind of had like a milkshake consistency. It was very good. I got the Almost Rich and Almost Famous, which was mezcal, Campari, lemon, and saffron. And then I followed that up with a long distance call, which was Ocho Tequila Blanco, spiced citrus salt, and then a couple other liqueurs in there as well. All three of them were really good. The ambiance of the place was pretty chill. Like it seemed like everyone was in there to have conversation, to connect, to talk with one another. But I can see how it made it to the top of the list, even being there on a Sunday. The environment was really beautiful. And so I could see how it got to the top of the list. I thought the drinks were fantastic. And then the last place I went to, which was probably the most expensive on this entire list and ranked number 4, was Bar Tradita. And that's in St. Regis in the Loop, more like River East off of Upper Wacker. I know some people hearing that it's like River East is not a real thing. That's just a loop. I'm just trying to get some more direction. But Tradita had come up quite a few times in conversations we have had recently, whether it was new places, whether it was romantic date spots, Valentine's Day themed places you can go to. I remember last time Louisa Chu was on, she talked about the pasta at Tradita. And I will say, not only did I go there for the drinks, I did stay for the food. And the parpadelli with the wild boar ragu, just the texture of the parpadelli was very good. And then I got one of their signature cocktails, the Dita, which came with Sazerac rye, a vermouth, a liqueur, Sonara 70, Luxardo and Tika House bitters, a cocktail cherry. I'm gonna be honest, most of the ingredients, as soon as I saw it, I can't say I immediately knew what they were, but I'm big on Googling at the table. And so I looked them up. It seemed like their version of a Manhattan maybe, or an old fashioned. And I thought it was fantastic. It tastes real good. Very strong, but it was smooth at the same time. Their signature cocktails get up there, y'all. $24, $26, $21. They got a couple $19 on their signature cocktails. And then their classics. The lowest is an $18 cocktail. The highest is a $22. So this was definitely the most expensive. I think on price alone, it is probably one that I couldn't see myself like going to regularly. I think of all of the ones I picked, the one I would most likely go back to on the reg was Monochrome Brewing. Just because Biso was really nice. I thought the drink selection was really good. It definitely was the one I'd probably maybe introduce people to, tell people as like an option in the West Loop if they weren't familiar, because it was new. I'd be like, oh, Biso's over there as well. You might want to go in there. It's a lot of great food around it. It's right off Sangamon and Fulton, so it's a good location. But Monochrome, it felt like the place I could go to read a book, try some beers that I had never tried otherwise. I could just sit there and catch up with old friends. I feel like I can go there and do work. I feel like I go there and like ideate, like do some writing. So it felt like the one I'd most likely go back to. Simone, when you're thinking about the ones you went to, how did your staple compare to the ones that you were trying for the first time? And would you go back to those others?
So I'd absolutely go back to Lemon. I would make a night of it. I definitely want to go back on a night where they've got something playing on that stage. Just such a cool vibe. And there's about a million other cocktails I want to try there. With Truce, I would only go if I was already in the neighborhood. I really would. And that's only because like it is really delicious. It is really good. But I don't know. It's really a place to kind of hang out. And it's hard for me to justify getting all the way to Bucktown to just hang out. It is tough, particularly when you're in the dead of winter, to to go far for me. But I think Lemon would. I think Lemon I would absolutely go to again.
Mm-hmm. Michelle, what about you? What is your favorite bar and how do these compare?
I think with Electric Funeral, I'm excited because it's so close to me. And so I definitely could see myself going there if like I have a friend who I know would really mess with the vibe. I would be excited to take them there for something more casual. But I can definitely see Cara Cara Club being one of my favorite spots now. The vibes were immaculate. It's kind of like more intimate than Easy Does It, but bigger than Punch House. So I feel like it's like my perfect happy medium. I would definitely travel up to Logan Square to check this spot out, especially I'm big on music. So depending on where I go, it always depends on who's playing or what's playing. And so I will definitely be catching up with Cara Cara Club, seeing who's playing. I would love to catch a live show there because from their Instagram, it looks really cool, like a really cool intimate space to see some live music. And so I definitely could see this being my favorite new spot.
Honestly, I liked all three that I went to, but by the end of the conversation, I feel like I would have like Lemon, Cara Cara Club, because I'm so interested in going to see live music. There aren't a ton of bars I go to just like sit, have a drink and relax. So most of the times if I'm having a drink out, it's either with dinner or it's at a place that's also playing music like a Easy Does It, a Broken Shaker. The three places I went to felt like places for intimate conversation, good place for dating, a good place for catching up with a group, eating food, really being present, which I really appreciate. We want to hear from y'all. Have you been to any of the places on this list? There were two spots on the list we didn't get to. Coming in at number 3, Golden Years, the 70s inspired bar we've all heard great things about. And I know you both wanted to get over to La Licor Panamericana, which came in at number 7 on their list. But if you're listening and you've been to any of them, we want to hear your thoughts. Let us know at 773-780-0246. Leave your name, your neighborhood, and your opinions. I want to give a huge thank you to our guest today, executive producer Simone Alicea.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
And producer Michelle Navarro.
Thanks, Jacoby.
Before we get out of here, make sure you bookmark our website, chicago.citycast.fm. While you're there, subscribe to our daily newsletter, Hey Chicago. Check out the articles we're updating almost every single day for you. And our packed events calendar is waiting for you to add something to your agenda. You know we ain't done without the good news. Chicago's late night show, The Not That Late Show, returns tomorrow to the Lincoln Lodge. Their guests are Jamal Cole and music from Zombie Manana. I'll drop a link for you in the show notes. As always, we appreciate you for listening and reading. We're going to be back bright and early tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Peace.